sometimes the things we believe are at the very core just made up by fake experts or influence operations. And yet, we want to believe them because they resonate with our needs and desires. Disinformation and influence operations can target public opinion in a number of ways. Often, they are part of a broader, well-planned operation. Good evening. My name is Maia Mazurkiewicz, and welcome to the Anatomy of Disinformation.
Grzegorz Rzeczkowski, Polish journalist, non-fiction writer. Grzegorz Rzeczkowski is the author of the book Putin's Spies: How the Kremlin's People Are Taking Over Poland, one of the most widely read books about Russian influence in Poland. His interests focus on Russian interference and disinformation targeting Western democracies, as well as anti-EU disinformation conducted by the far right. He co-coordinates the Solfex project, part of the EU's Horizon Europe program for the defense of democracy, which is dedicated to detecting, analyzing, and countering foreign interference and information manipulation. He was nominated for the Grand Press 2009 award in the investigative journalism category.
Thank you so much for joining us in the Anatomy of Disinformation. Grzegorz, you are fiercely fighting for the truth and being very vivid about the topics, but you're also heavily attacked.
Yes, I was attacked. I can say that I'm still under attack because there is a huge wave of disinformation, of fake news in the social media about me. The reason is the interview that was prepared by the Polish public TV with me. And I described the situation before the war in Ukraine started. And in my opinion, former government of Law and Justice Party, did not prepare us properly for that war. They plotted, in my opinion, with other pro-Putinist parties around Europe, what to do after Ukraine will collapse, because they expect that Ukraine will collapse after the couple of days of war. I was attacked, as I said, with a huge wave of disinformation, with personal attacks. It was orchestrated by law and justice politicians and so-called journalists connected with them. But
mostly on social media?
Mostly on social media, exactly. But before that, a couple of weeks ago, I was threatened personally by people connected with Russians and with the Kremlin because of my journalistic work, because of this whole stuff that I uncovered about businesses, about Russian businesses in Poland. And it was a personal threat. I was afraid of my life, and still I'm afraid that something bad can happen. I informed prosecutor's office about it, and they have just started formal investigation.
You're writing very much and doing a lot of research around Russian influence in Poland. So where is it particularly visible in Poland currently?
Some corporations, some Polish corporations with Russian connections are established in Cyprus in law offices of lawyers that are very strictly connected with the Kremlin or Kremlin oligarchs. One crucial thing is to dig in the story very deeply, uncovering connections, business connections. Many of them are established in Cyprus, for example. So these links...
Well, the golden passports, right?
Exactly. So that's one way of...
So it's very hard to find it, right? To navigate the connection.
Yes, that's right. it is quite smart job done by Russians, because as I said before, they understand that it is hard to be pro-Russian in business or in for politicians in a political area, not to be and be successful as well. So if you are pro-Russian, you are not successful because of this anti-Russian attitude in Poland. So you have to react and act very well uncovered, very well uncovered to be successful. So they understood it quite a long time ago in the communist era, and now they do it with a good result, I think.
So they are basically doing the same that they've been doing during the Cold War, but with the different resources currently?
I don't know.
Or they are more sophisticated?
More
ways?
Sophisticated for sure, because during the Cold War, in the Soviet era, this influence had this ideological roots. And now Russians are totally free in influencing us, in dividing us, in providing some disinformation campaigns, because they just pay the money. They just buy people and their businesses, their activities, their skills.
Exactly, and one of your first books was talking about the crash in 2010, and that was one of the first times when the polarization in Poland has started on such a big scale, correct?
Yes, exactly. This division is huge, we can say, enormous. We as a Polish society, we are so much divided as never before. And it was done after the Smolensk catastrophe. It was done by these politicians who saw discord, who saw these conspiracy theories connected with the Smolensk catastrophe. And this is one of the main objectives of Russian intelligence services, for example, to divide us, to sow discord, to make us enemies one to another.
Different tribes in Poland even, right?
Yes, we say something like that. And we often say that in Poland we have two tribes that hate each other. So it is very unprecedented situation in our country.
And when we're talking about the influence operations and on the disinformation level, there are different narratives that are pro-Russian, right? They're kind of coming from Kremlin and then being used by the different people, useful idiots and so on, not even sometimes knowing that it's the Russian narrative. In your research, when you're looking at the specific narratives, do you see that they are connected? What are the main ones?
Yes, of course, we can observe that, for example, far-right group are very they don't hesitate to answer for this Russian narratives. They are very active in that area. For example, they are very anti-Ukrainian. This is one of the most important, we can say, way of disinformation in Poland, to divide us with the Ukraine, to make us stop the support for Ukraine.
And do you see that in this narrative around Ukraine, Smolensk is still visible?
Oh, somehow yes, because it is used as a tool to show Polish society that Ukrainians believe that there is a criminal attempt. We remember what the president of Ukraine said in Polish parliament, that probably it was a kind of attempt. And it is very, very smart way of, again, of for dividing our society, because when the president of Ukraine says something like this, so it has to be true. But of course, it is a big lie. It is a big lie because there is no single proof to support this theory that it was a criminal attempt. It was just tragedy. It was a big tragedy, but it was a plane crash.
Definitely. And then if we're talking about, again, Smolensk, and you're saying that the Russian or Kremlin is quite active in these terms, you may even say that there's no goal of Kremlin to change the attitudes of Poles towards Russia, but only diminish the attitudes towards Ukrainians, right? Or polarize us even more.
Yes, but it is not so. This issue, these theories connected with Poland, was used a couple of years ago. It is since 2-3 years we don't hear about it so often like before, because these theories was dismantled a little bit. For example, by the special government commission that finished its work couple days ago, just a couple days ago. And we know that everything what Law and Justice Party did with this issue was a lie, was a disinformation, was a kind of disinformation. That there is a long campaign of disinformation around Smolensk, and it is over. It is over for now. So it was used a couple of years ago as well in our relationships, in our connections with Ukraine, but not so much as in Poland.
And currently, you see any specific narratives that are visible? And is there a connection in between different organizations and people that are related to Moscow, to Kremlin? Are they cooperating together as the network? Or?
In the business area, yes, it is. In the political area, yes, it is a network of the far-right conservative movements that are maybe not so very big, but very influential. As a whole, they are big. They have a power, substantial power. So in these two areas, these connections are visible, and I try to, as I said, to uncover it, I think, with a success.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back at our conversation. Now, let's take a look at Doppelgänger and other Kremlin influence operations in Europe.
What is the Doppelgänger operation?
The Russian influence operation called Doppelgänger is a coordinated attempt by what seems to be a Russian company hired by the Kremlin to mimic legitimate news entities, Western news entities, fabricating news articles or like opinionated articles, and then spread them through social media, through bot accounts basically, or automated accounts. These web pages that they create are basically replicas of news media. And whenever you actually reach the web page and you click anywhere on the page to, for example, go to the sports section or the news section of that page, it actually takes you back to the original website that they're trying to mimic. The interesting part of this influence operation is not only the mimicking aspect of it, but also how they've been basically using Twitter and meta ads to reach what seems to be reaching like millions and millions of people. A large portion of the tweets were targeting the US elections. They were discrediting Biden at the time, and they were trying to create division and polarization around the Israel-Palestine conflict. We have 1,300 tweets in June alone. We have a whole bunch of different languages that these tweets are in. So we can see that they're targeting Germany, France, Italy, very much Poland, Ukraine and the US. During the French elections, were both European Parliament elections and snap elections, so the national elections, we saw that there was a network of Facebook pages portraying themselves as, patriots of France, so catering to the, mostly to the far right, Muslims in France, African diaspora in France, and these different types of target audiences in France. And they were on the regular Facebook pages, they were publishing content catering to these audiences, but when you were looking at the types of ads they were publishing meta ads, which were attacking Macron and attacking Ukraine, so discrediting Zelensky and discrediting the, Ukraine's defense, basically. These pages are operating from West Africa. So the pages are administered by accounts based in West Africa. So they're not really French. They're not French patriots. They're, and they were in countries that were seemingly presence of Wagner mercenary soldiers. We cannot fully confirm that this is Wagner or what is now called the Africa Corps of the Russian army, but it's a lot of indications that this is a Russian influence operation. As far as we could see, by then they already managed to reach millions and millions of French users with these ads. The ads, which was found by an organization called AI Forensics, they were mostly taken down, but yet seemingly Meta is still taking money from these ads. So Meta is taking money from these Russian companies. There's a whole bunch of Facebook pages, YouTube channels, across all of social media platforms. There are pages controlled by sanctioned Russian entities. So far we found 250 violations. Going forward, we have told all the platforms about this issue, and we're going to continue this work and try to see if we can help the platforms and the European Commission and the member states of the EU to enforce the sanctions.
As we see, there is a number of influence operations in Europe. And the unity is the most crucial, not only within the countries, but also within the NATO and the European Union. How Kremlin, again, is trying to undermine this unity?
First of all, we have to remember about this influence, this ability to influence our society by the far-right parties. Far-right parties in Europe, since many years, are the first and the most important supporter of the Russian policy and the Kremlin. We know about many connections, many cooperation between them. So it is the main threat in this political area. We know parties in France, in Austria, in Germany, Alternative für Deutschland, that they are very pro-Russian and they're ready to establish Russian policy in their countries, or pro-Russian policy, or anti-European policy, we can say like this. So it is,
or anti-Ukrainian.
And anti-Ukrainian. So it is the big international cooperation community of anti-Western, anti-liberal parties, conservative parties, nationalist parties that try to undermine our values, our European values.
Truth is important, and independence journalist and the independence journalism is something that we need more of in this world. And thank you for your work and your courage.
Thank you very much, Maia.
Thank you so much. Now, let's look at one of the disinformation tactics widely used in our information space.
What are useful idiots and how do they function as a disinformation strategy? A disinformation strategy where individuals unknowingly amplify false narratives or propaganda without understanding its malicious origins. These useful idiots share misleading content due to ideological alignment, ignorance, or misplaced trust, acting as unknowing agents for the campaign's objectives. By spreading disinformation through social media, blogs, or other platforms, they lend credibility and expand the narrative's reach, reducing direct involvement of disinformers, making the disinformation appear organic and more believable.
Fake experts, useful idiots, disinformation, and other tactics are part of bigger influence operations that are part of our everyday lives. Staying resilient is the key to our security in today's world. NATO defines resilience as the capacity at the national and collective level to prepare for, resist, respond to, and quickly recover from strategic shocks and disruptions. And understanding the threat is an important first step. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep calm and think deeply.